Alrighty, folks, welcome to Eagles Power Hour, your Eastern Washington affiliate on the Big Sky Podcast Network. I'm your host, Patrick Frakes, and today we have a super special episode of Eagles Power Hour. We have Eagle legend, Buck Buchanan Award winner, two-time All-American, school record in career sacks. I think he still has a career record in PFLs as well. Um, Greg Peach. Greg, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing great. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's awesome having you on. Really excited. You're a guy that I grew up watching and I played D line growing up, and so you were a guy I watched your film, growing up as a kid, trying to get better at the position. Really cool to have you on. Since this is an Eastern Washington podcast, we're gonna kind of hit on, you know, start with like, hey, how you got recruited a little bit, and then go into your Eastern career. Um, you know, how was that recruiting process for you? Not trying to call you old here, but it was a lot different, back then, recruiting wise. Hey, you might be doing like cassette tapes and stuff for film rather than huddle and all that stuff. So, what was the recruiting process for you coming from Evergreen High School all the way up to Gene?
Yeah, much different. Let's see. We won state my senior year, so we had a good year. Had a nice playoff run the year before too. So I was able to get in front of more coaches over in Seattle. That's a big thing. Was competing against the best talent, guys that are going D1 instead of when you're in your little bubble in whatever league you're in that's not in the metro. And so, yeah, that helped a ton. Really had offers to D2s, like Central Washington was pretty heavy on me. Western Washington, when they had a program, had a junior college, Butte. And then I guess it would have been like in January, Coach Baldwin he had my area. So he was recruiting me, and he came to a basketball game, watched me play. I think I had a nice dunk, had some steals. Like I was just kind of showing my athleticism as a big guy. And I talked to him about this, and he said he called Coach Wolf that night, and they were like, we need to trip him and get him on campus. And then so I think I was one of the last trips in January. About that time, Idaho State called, so I had a trip with them the last weekend. I went to Eastern, loved it. I took a partial, and was able to turn that into a full the next year, and the rest is history. The difference from back then to now, and I do this for a living, is help kids get recruited and put them in the best possible scenario. There's a lot more to it as far as getting yourself out there a couple years before your senior year, getting to camps, getting your film out to coaches, just kind of letting them know who you are, so they know who to watch and keep track of. And but those camps, like in the summertime, are huge now to get eyes on those guys. Whereas when I was in high school, I went to our team camp at Western Washington for 4 years. That's just what you did. And then the coach would come to your school. Your head coach would pop in a VHS. So yes, you are aging me. And then they'd watch, and they're the best last couple games, and they'd kind of take an assessment, like, yeah, like this, or yeah, we'll keep talking to him. But there was no way to get that film as fast as possible. Like I was mailing tapes, VHS tapes to coaches. So it was a process. If you really wanted to get recruited, you had to put some work in, and you do now, but it's a click of the mouse.
Yeah, no, it definitely a lot more accessible today. Every fan can go watch a bunch of tape of every single recruit, and that definitely probably wasn't the case back then. Um, Transitioning more into your playing career at Eastern, you played under Coach Wolf, and then you played. Did you play 1 year under Baldwin as a head coach
I
your
did
senior
his
year?
first year. Yep.
Yeah. So, like, what was it like kind of transitioning from Coach Wolf to Coach Baldwin, during your career? I can't remember because wasn't Wolf's last year was a playoff run year, and then Baldwin's first year was not a down year, but a little bit down of a year. What was it like, kind of transitioning from Paul Wolf's regime to the Baldwin regime?
Yeah, Paul was obviously a great coach. He knew how to bring guys together as far as his coaching staff. As a player, I didn't really talk to him much. He's a quieter guy, and I was too. So we would meet, in our exit meeting. I probably talked to him 5 or 6 times in 3 years, and but he was he won games. And my junior year, we went to the quarterfinals, lost to App State, had a nice run, and we weren't even the league champs
Yeah, 14th
that
seed,
year.
right? Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, we didn't win the Big Sky that year, but we went farther than Montana, which is all that mattered back then. So,
Hmm.
um, and yeah, and then Baldwin came in. I mean, I love Bo. He recruited me, like I said. Then he went to Central for a year, came back, and he brought a great energy. And we just hadn't, great coaching staff because those guys won a natty 2 years later.
Hmm.
Pretty much the same guys. It wasn't like it was a coach's deal. I think they were just kind of finding their way and meshing that group together. And it took a couple years, and then they obviously had a great run, and a lot of people got paid because of it in that
Hmm.
staff. Um, so yeah, totally different guys. Bo, I would talk to all the time. I loved, he's just a very personable guy. Not to say that, some guys just aren't big talkers. So
Yeah.
it's not to say they're not a good coach. It's just different personalities. And obviously Paul is a great coach as well. He's at Cal Poly as their HC. So, which was kind of a funny twist
Yeah.
uh, with Bo being there. But yeah, I love playing for both of those guys. Um, and, I'm excited to see where Bo goes.
Yeah, agreed. I do wonder where he's going to land. I thought a
Mhm.
lot of people thought he might get. I know the Northern Arizona job was open, as well as the oh, what job was it? Can't remember. Anyways, there's a couple jobs that we were sitting there like, he's already in Arizona. The NAU job's right there. Are they gonna hire
Mhm.
Bo? I'm like, are we gonna have to deal with Bo in the Big Sky once again? But we ended up not, which was, you know, thankful. You kind of mentioned the Eagle defenses in, your range of, 2005 to about 2010 were just dominant defenses, especially compared to the last, 15 years. It's been a lot more of an offensive focused team. Uh, one, have you seen any like schematic differences from, those early, late 2000s, early 2010s teams to more the recent last 15-10 years?
I mean, I guess, yeah, 2010. After that, it was almost like shootouts every week
Hmm.
uh, for a while there. But it was a lot of the same coaches, and obviously they're going to tweak things in to improve each year. But I don't think there was really that big of a shift um, until Schmeds took over and kind of aligned it back to where it needed to be. We went to the Natty in 2018, uh, but I'm not really sure in that time frame. I know, when I was playing, it was more of a traditional four down lineman.
Hmm.
Um, they just let us go. I remember, my D line coach is like, yeah, I'm a thinker. I like to process things and before pre snap and know what I'm doing exactly with every look I get. And he was just kind of like, you just got to go, dude.
Hmm.
You can rush. You make a mistake, but just get to that quarterback. So that was a fun year for me and our defensive line, to the detriment of our linebackers sometimes. But
Hmm.
um, sorry, guys. And but now, I guess this kind of segues to Coach Sanders coming in. I think that there's going to be some different looks that we haven't seen out of Eastern in a while, and he's a very, very smart guy with great experience across the Division One and NFL. So I know the guys are really excited about having him there, and we're going to see some different stuff this year.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten that feeling from, players I've talked to, and, just watching Sanders talk. Like, you instantly. that guy knows ball. He knows what he's doing. You know, definitely was a hire that I think a lot of Eastern fans are like hiring the run game coordinator after, two of the worst run defensive seasons of all time. But I mean, that's not always, a telltale sign of what's going on. So I mean, I'm optimistic for sure. I'm excited. I'd love to get him on the podcast as well. But um, yeah, no, I'm really excited for what Coach Sanders is gonna do. And I mean, we'll see. It should be interesting. So speaking of more current football, you did a little bit of broadcasting with SWX, didn't you?
I
Uh,
did. I did the Southeast Louisiana game with Dennis Patchen on SWX.
How was that with Patchen? I know I watched that game and I thought I was like, I swear that's Greg Peach's voice, but you know, interesting game. I saw you posted a picture with Voigtlander after that too. How was broadcasting? Are you interested in doing that more in the future?
That was a blast. I don't. I mean, it's totally up to them if they want me to come
Mm-hmm.
back. Um, I think that first quarter, I was, right before kickoff, I'm like, wow, I got like the game day butterflies here. And then once we got going, Patchen is just a pro, and he walked me through a lot of stuff during. It was funny, like he didn't coach me at all before, really. He told me a couple things. I'm like, is there more I need to know? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad he didn't, because then I wasn't overthinking. And then each time out, he'd just give me a cue here and there. And by the second time out, we were just rolling. Uh, so yeah, a lot of, people are always going to look at broadcasters and I don't know what they're talking about or whatever, and might be annoyed with them or something just because they see them all the time. But they're like, I already had respect for those guys, but being up there with Dennis, you have just a lot more respect for their craft and what they're doing. And he's got that thing dialed in. People can hate all they want, but that was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very, very good at it. So I was glad that I was with him my first time doing that. But I would for sure do that again. The hardest part was not being, just a Eastern super fan,
Mm-hmm.
trying to be, you know, non-biased with the call, but it's really hard. I know all these guys and I
Mm-hmm.
train some of these guys.
Trained a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
but
there a ton of guys went and trained at Provision. I guess we'll talk more about Provision here. I know like Ben Voigtlander trained with you guys. A couple of the upcoming recruits who Mark Johnson, I believe, is a name that coaches mentioned that you brought on to them. Um, what are a few of the recruits that are players that train with Provision and kind of give an overview to people that maybe haven't heard about Provision or have heard it but don't really know what it is. Um, I know there's the new facility. I'm not sure if that's done yet or not, but you know, how's Provision going? Who are some of the players that are doing it, and just yeah, how's that going?
yeah, no, this is something we started about 6 years ago. Dario Romero, Jay Kaufman, Zach Bruce, JC Sherritt, Luke Fritz, a lot of Eastern guys, Deion Watson, Jordan Rose, some Idaho guys. And now it's turned into there's a lot of guys that are currently playing, Eastern guys, Whitworth, that are able to help out and coach up the next generation of kids. And that's where it started. It was a weekend thing. We all, working full-time jobs, but we all have all this information and this knowledge, and we want to help out kids. And you have that understanding when you go through the process that it's more than just sports. It's more than just learning a technique. This stuff helps. Everything you're learning is going to help you in life in whatever you choose to do, regardless of how long you played sports till. It could have been middle school, high school, college. I just encourage kids to get out there and do it. And when you really dedicate yourself to it, you're learning, these things, these consistency, discipline. You're building these habits that translate to, outside of sports, and you're setting somebody else, up for success through it. So that was the mission, and that still is the mission. It just has gotten a lot bigger, and our reach is a little bigger. Like you said, we're getting into a nice building out in Airway Heights over by the Amazon building, one of those warehouses at the Douglas Legacy Park, and we'll be training out of there sometime soon. They're working on it right now. Um, and then yeah, we've got into speed and strength. A couple years ago with Coach Villaro and Coach Romero, Coach Harrison. So a lot of guys that have great experience working with kids and playing at a high level and going through those trials that you go through at that high level. And now we're able to impart that wisdom into the kids that we train. And it's been super fun how we started to now where we're training softball girls. We're starting up women's flag football. We're getting into lacrosse. I don't care who you are. Every kid needs good mentors surrounding them and people that can push them and guide them in the right way. And that's our biggest mission. And we're doing it and we're loving it. And yeah, we're growing. It's been fun.
Yeah, man. Provision's really fun to watch. Just it's really nice having something local like that. You know, with Coeur d'Alene kids, Post Falls kids, stuff like that, and then being able to get those kids the knowledge that you know, hey, if they're just playing high school football, they're not gonna get it unless they're
Yeah.
doing extra stuff and or have someone that played in college has their head coach and stuff like that. It's really cool to see a few of the guys in this upcoming class. With
Yep.
Shea Robertson's, was he Provision guy?
I'll,
Voigtlander, like I mentioned
yeah.
earlier.
I'll give
Uh,
you a little synopsis on these
oh yeah,
guys. Yeah, Voight was one of the first kids that we trained. Known him since he was a freshman and in high school, and he was a quarterback slash
really?
safety.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember I was coaching my brother-in-law at Meade where he was, and that's kind of where I started my coaching journey. And they were like, "Well, he can't play." It was Coach Bruce. Coach Bruce was the DB's coach. That's how I met Coach Bruce, and he he goes, "Yeah, he's physical. He's a great straight line runner, but he's not a safety." And I'm looking at him like, "Well, this guy loves ball. He's laying dudes out. He's an athlete. Let me put him down at the defensive line. I'll take him." So, and he works his ass off. And there we go. Now he's, going to be in the mix to be a starter at Eastern. And so I'm super proud of him and his journey. He's been through a lot. He did his LDS mission, which is not easy to do. And he came back in better shape, looking better than he left. So when you talk about dedication and
Hmm.
commitment to something, that's him. He exudes that. So I'm super excited to watch him this year. But Waylon Romero, Dario
Oh,
Romero's
Wayland, yeah.
son, who's Dario, if you ever watch his film, I played with Dario for 2 years in Edmonton. He's an absolute monster. And his son has that same aggressiveness
That
and
motor looks
that
amazing
fire,
on film.
motor. Yeah. And he's super athletic too. He's got twitch, great twitch. I think he's going to make some noise early on. And then Shea Robertson from Coeur d'Alene High School is a guy that kid, he signed. I don't think he's missed a day of work. He's in the gym. He's on the field. We have to kind of taper him back a little bit. Like, hey,
Hmm.
take a breather here. He doesn't stop, and I think people are going to be once you see the film, you're not going to be surprised. But he wasn't like a huge name per se,
Hmm.
uh, coming from Idaho, but he's going to come in and make noise right away. I think he's got a great chance of, maybe sniffing the roster. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, no, Shea was definitely one of the guys when I was going through doing my kind of just little recruit breakdown. Shea was one I was like, ooh, oh, that's a guy. You throw on his tape and he's laying dudes out in Wagriz. Like the dude, he's a
Yeah.
stud. I'm really excited to see Shea. I do think he'll probably rotate at the linebacker spot next year, barring portal and stuff like that. But we'll see. I also seems like a guy Coach Sanders is super super excited about. So you know, really excited.
Well, and to touch on that, Mark Johnson, that's a kind of a cool story. Guy I played
Yeah,
against in the CFL um, actually sent his film down and was like, "Hey, is there any connections over there?" And So I just sent it out to the colleges in the area that he was looking at going, and it worked out to where he's a stud, and we were the lucky ones to get him. But that I just want to add that story because
Yes.
I think there's a lot of kids, and I see this now, and I don't want to be the old dinosaur here that's like, social media has changed
Yeah.
everything. We adapt. I understand that's the game, so we adapt to it and we use it, and we let the kids and parents know how to use it. But you're on your journey. You don't know what that's going to be. You don't know where it's going to take you. Just keep focusing on your journey as a high school athlete. If there's anybody that's listening to this, or maybe there's a parent that's listening to this, to show this to your kid, because why I wanted to go in depth on mine, because I was a D2 player at one point. That's where I was going. I was about to commit to Central because I wanted to play college football, and I was truly passionate about it. And Eastern came in late, and the rest is history, like I said. But if you want to play college ball, you go where your best offer is, whatever that is, and you take it as far as you can, and stop trying to put these crazy expectations on yourself. Set a goal. I want to go to Oregon. I didn't go to Oregon. I went to Eastern, and it worked out tremendously. So set a big goal and work towards that goal, and wherever you end up is going to be where you needed to be at that moment.
That's great stuff. Mark Johnson, another guy that I'm really excited for seeing his tape. I've never seen so many pancakes out of a pass set before. It was wild. So, dude's
Yeah.
athletic as heck for a
Yeah.
6'5" lineman. So,
I'm
really,
excited about him, and he's a
shoot,
great basketball player too.
he played like middle linebacker half the year at 6'5". Like the dude is ridiculously
Yes.
athletic. He's one of those guys that's like, Eastern got this guy. Like, whoa. There's been a
Yeah.
couple of those in this class that I'm really excited for watching their film. Um, you know, Man, provision seems like such a cool thing that, you know, being able to impact kids' lives like that, is there any other guys that have been provision guys that are on the roster right now? I'm trying to think.
Uh, there's been some guys in the past that I was working with, that were playing at Eastern. Tyler Pultasi, Blake Oshner, um, and but honestly, like, I know I went to Eastern, but I'm not worried about if a kid goes to Eastern per
Yeah.
se. I want them to go to the best fit. And there's guys that go to Idaho that
Yep.
are going to Whitworth, another great university, that's local. Montana Western. There's so many places, and I try to just make sure that we're telling the kids, like, hey, and most kids that grow up here, Eastern's a big school that they want to go to.
Yeah.
If you can get there, awesome. But there is a place for you if you truly want to do this. There's a place. There's kids that go the JC route. There's kids that go the D3, the D2. Central Washington, another great school, great staff.
Hmm.
So I try not to, I'm not biased towards where any of these kids go. Am I, super excited when they go to Eastern? For sure.
Yeah.
That's my, that's my school. That's my alma mater. But we want them to go to the best, the place that's the best fit for them. So there's kids all over. My Saturdays are full during
Yeah.
the fall.
Yeah. No, really cool thing. I'm gonna throw it back to your time at Eastern here because I just realized I had a couple things that I wanted to hit on. You played at the second highest attended game in Eastern football history at Woodward Field. That would be, well, I don't know if you played, but you should have been in attendance if you were on the roster. 2006 versus Montana, there was 11,500 people. I don't know if you remember this game. It was a tough loss to Montana. Do you remember this game at all? What was it like playing in front of a huge crowd like that?
Absolutely. I remember the tackle was pretty good. The quarterback was Josh Swager, I believe. And they had a really good receiving class. Lex Hilliard was the running back. He played in the NFL for a long time. And I was a sophomore, and I was still learning how to play football. at that point. I was just kind of running around with my head cut off, but I think I had at least a sack, maybe a couple. Um, and I remember how huge that game was. The reason I knew that is because the year before, my true freshman year, we were playing at Washington Grizzly and we win 35-21. And my D line coach, I swear to God, is in tears, like giving me a hug because he knows we now have a chance of winning the Big Sky Conference. Like
Mhm.
that's how big those games are. And we beat Montana State the last game of the year to seal the ring. So uh, I knew it was a big game. And when you go to Eastern, you figure that out real quick, how
Mhm.
big that rivalry is. It's still there, even with all the teams, even though we don't play them every year, it's there. And that's who we're thinking about. That's who we're going to beat each year. So yeah, I remember every Montana game.
Oh yeah,
They're unforgettable.
man. This is I'm gonna go on a little tangent here. Montana fans love to say that Eastern is not a rival. I've heard more Montana fans say they hate Eastern Washington than I have seen Montana fans say they hate Montana State. I don't care. You people are like, oh, they're Montana kids. I respect them. I'll root for the Montana kids in the championship game, whatever. You guys hate Eastern. It's a rivalry. Screw you guys. Anyways, um,
Yeah, well, that's that's funny because they were, especially when we kind of owned them there for about 10 years. Then they were backing away a little bit from it.
mhm,
When I was there, they were beating us. I only beat them once,
mhm,
so then it's a rivalry and we beat you kind of thing. Their
mhm.
attitude, at least, but now honestly, they're they're back on top, and it reminds me of the early 2000s when we kind of had to come in and work our way up and dethrone them like we did in 2010 and kept it rolling. And now it's our turn to do it again because they're the mountaintop right now.
Oh yeah, man, awesome opportunity this year having them at home. I
Yeah.
love playing the Grizz at home. I'll definitely be there. Talking about Wa Grizz, you played in some awesome stadiums in your career. Unidome, Wa Grizz, West Virginia, Oregon State, Texas Tech, Colorado are all games that during your playing career. Is there any stadium or stadiums that like stand out as being the coolest environments to play in, coolest stadiums, biggest stadiums, anything like that?
Colorado was rowdy. Um, Even though we were beating them 27 or 21-0, no, 21-7 at halftime, the fans were kind of quiet, but then they stormed back and won, and it was insane. And they got that buffalo running around the field, which is nuts. Um, BYU is probably the
Oh,
coolest. Obviously, Washington Grizz is the loudest. I don't. There's not a louder stadium. CFL, same thing. I don't think there's anything louder. But BYU has this incredible backdrop of the mountains. It was a nice sunny day when we were playing there, and and then at halftime it started snowing. In the second half, you could not see more than maybe 10 yards in front of you. It was a blizzard. It went from 45 degrees and sunny to low 30s blizzard. We were almost to the point. I think we lost like 42-7. We're just running the clock out at some
yeah.
point. Just to everyone wanted to get out of there. But and the fans were super nice. Uh,
Mhm.
they weren't the loudest. They were actually very respectful, and I think they kind of knew they were gonna take us out. They were a ranked team that year.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was always a great, or that was a really cool one. Wagers is always awesome, and a lot of these places have gotten better since I played. Like Weber's and Montana State's have gotten, they've done some updates to them and upgraded them. So that's it'd be cool to go just watch as a fan.
Mhm.
I was at the Brawl of the Wild this last year
Oh, so
in
jealous. I
Montana,
want to go to
and that
that so
was
bad.
amazing to be there as a fan and watch. That was a really cool experience.
Yeah, no. Brawl the Wild. I've been wanting to go to a game in Walgreens for my whole life and have just never gotten the opportunity to. I mean, hey, I hate Montana, but that stadium's cool. I've always wanted to go see it as a big Sky guy. Um, Man, that'd be really cool.
Heck yeah.
Um, Shoot, I want to hit on you played with one of the only other Buck Buchanan Award winners in Eastern history, JC Sherritt, for a year or two. You want to hit on JC Sherritt a little bit and coached with him, correct? You
Yeah.
want to hit
So
on him as a
JC,
guy, as his career, stuff like that.
yeah, JC was a year younger than me, so he redshirted. So he was a redshirt sophomore when I was a senior at Eastern, and he was always a guy I loved hanging around. Just we weren't like super close friends or anything in college per se, but um, we were always putting in extra work, and always ended up, kind of being at the same places just because we had the same goals, same mission of what we wanted out of college. And it was so cool. I was in my third year in Edmonton, and JC came in as a rookie, and we roomed together in training camp. So,
Hmm.
you know, there's a great story with that. Um, I told it at his wedding actually last year. Just about, long story short, he's like fourth or fifth on the depth chart and kind of sweating it. And I'm like, man, I don't know what to say because it's a tough spot to be in. And I don't see it happen very often where that guy makes it. So I was just trying to be encouraging to him. Um, and we get out to practice the 2 days before our preseason game. And we run a live drill. So goal line live, ball carriers going down to the ground. You do it, a couple of times in camp. It's not really something you do every day, but you get to see what everybody's about in those, 4 or 5 snaps. And there was a running back, a little dive, comes in to the A gap. I'm on the ground. I'm like diving at knees, trying to make a pile. JC flies in and smacks this dude who's running. He's gonna get in. Smacks him. He goes to the ground like a yard back. Everybody goes nuts. I'm on the ground. All I hear is just this loud noise, and I don't know what's going on. And I get up, and everyone just kind of swarmed around JC, and we're celebrating to the sideline. And I remember that play got pulled up in film later that day, and then we went to the preseason game. He got a bunch of reps. He played like 2 quarters, balled out, and basically secured his spot on the team. And the rest, as you would say, is history. 8 years in the CFL, one of the all-time greats in Edmonton. He says 5'10", maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, but you don't see that type of story happen very often, and it's a very special thing. And you have to respect that so much, because I look around now and 5'10", even 5'10", you're not getting a shot.
Hmm.
Division One, you don't get those opportunities anymore, um, and it's something that we talk about all the time. Is, man, there's a lot of good ball players out there that are not going to get an opportunity because of measurables. The greatest linebacker to play at Eastern Washington, and one of the greatest linebackers to play for a franchise, the Edmonton Eskimos, which won 5 Grey Cups in a row in the 70s and 80s, a historic franchise, and he's one of the best ever. So I challenge coaches all around to really, really dive in and look and say, what are we trying to do here? What are we really trying to get? Are we trying to get, ball players or athletes? And, I was 6'3", 200 pounds. There's no way I'm going to Eastern Washington with any sort of money at all. I'd have to be 230 for them to look at me, 225. So I just appreciate those coaches that take a chance on guys and develop guys and really put the work into to get their full potential. So sorry, I went on a little tangent there,
No, you're
but
fine.
it means a lot because it's all about opportunity, and he took advantage of every one. Um, and thank God somebody was there to give him one.
Hmm. One of the hardest workers I can think of, just outside looking in. He seems like one of the hardest working guys you could possibly be. If you're going to play 8 years professionally, what you played Did you play 7 years professionally?
I played
Yeah.
7, yeah.
Yeah, you just got to be a different animal when it comes to working. You also played with former Eastern quarterback Matt Dinkles in the league, didn't you? You
Yep,
want to
we
hit on
played
that a little bit?
yeah, we played that same year in 2011. Me, JC, and Matt were all on the same team. Um, kind of a weird year. JC was the West Division Rookie of the Year. I got hurt that year. I missed 9 games. Or no, 4 games. And then Matt was on IR for the whole year as like a, uh, a healthy scratch, basically, like our 4th quarterback,
Mhm.
which is hilarious because he played 12 years and won a Grey Cup. It's just funny how those things work. But yeah, so I played with Matty that year. And then 2015, he got traded to Winnipeg. Mike Riley was the coach or the quarterback in Edmonton that year from Central Washington. And we needed a quarterback, and Matt was the backup. So we brought him to Winnipeg. I only played a few games that year. I was kind of banged up. That was my last year, but it was super fun to play ball with him one last time. We were college roommates, still very, very close, and I've always been close. So it was cool to be a part of his journey for a little bit. But just another worker. I mean, same kind of story. Like he's a guy you'd want to talk to. He's got some great stories. I'm not
Definitely.
even gonna say any. I told the JC one because he would never tell that.
Hmm.
That's the type of guy he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very blessed with the people that I got to play with, and a lot of them were Eastern Washington Eagles. Dario Romero is the guy. He's still my business partner in this Provision Academy, and
Yep.
he took me under his wing, showed me how to be a pro, showed me how to work. That guy was a freak,
Hmm.
athletically, and his work ethic was insane. He was a Prop 48 at Eastern, and like I said, played 3 years in the NFL, 7 in the CFL. Another great story that, um, I'm grateful that somebody gave him an opportunity because, look what he was able to do with it. But yeah, I've been very blessed in my career, the people that I've been around and got to play with and coach with.
Yeah, no, I'd love to get Dario on the show as well. He'd be a really good one. Hit on Provision as well. Shoot, even
So
having a kid that just signed too, that might be an interesting.
Dario would be an awesome guest, and he could even go deeper into the Provision Foundation, which is something that was started last year to really raise money to help kids in need of like mentorship, leadership, um, club sports, males and females, getting them into programs that like after school programs that are going to foster great relationships, build confidence in them, and get them around people that that they need to be around. And that's something that he has him and his wife have really taken on, and would be a great conversation with him because
Yeah,
it's on all our hearts, but definitely with them.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. No, Dario's a guy that I've always wanted to get on here. I never got to really watch him play, but I mean, if you're an Eastern Hall of Famer, it's tough to get any better than that at
Yeah.
Eastern. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, man, that is shoot. Dario's one of those guys that just Eastern legend. So many Eastern legends defensively from late '90s up to about 2010. Shoot, Samson Ebukam, and then in the 2015s. Have you ever met Samson? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'll tell a funny story about Samson. So he's a great guy. Right away when you meet him, he's all in. He's very serious about um, his craft and being the best he can be.
Freak.
Yes, and that's what happens when you get somebody that's as talented as him, paired up with great work ethic and a great mentality, and now you get 9.5 sacks for one of the best defenses in the NFL. So his sophomore year, I think it was going into his junior year, I was still playing, and I would always come out and work out with guys, just do some drills with them, really just working on my craft and helping them out with the D line. And coaches can't be out there. It's like, they can't get any extra work with them, but I would just pop out there on the field, grab some D linemen, and we'd be rolling. And I remember there was one day where it was just me and Samson, and I'm doing these drills with him, and I'm doing it myself, and then I'm watching him, and I'm thinking like, this guy's better than me, and I'm going into year 7, and he is a sophomore in college. The only thing I have on him is I got experience. I got maybe a little bit more knowledge to get me to where I need to get to, but it was pretty insane. And but then you wouldn't know it talking to him. He's a very humble guy, and I remember, he was very disciplined just from the stuff I've heard from coaches. And so when you see him have success in the league, it's pretty special, and it's happening for a great person. So
Yeah. Samson's a guy that just so awesome to see him succeed. I remember a few weeks ago, I do some stuff for the Idaho podcast as well, and looking at their career. They had a kid that kind of reminded me a little bit of Samson, maybe not, the upside, but like just kind of a kid that I think he came from like Nigeria his senior year of high school, and he hadn't really played football much. Athletic guy. So I looked up Samson's high school tape. Samson's high school highlight tape was like 25 minutes long. It was insane.
it's nuts. And he had one offer, Portland
One
State,
offer. Yeah.
before we came in and gave him an offer.
I could
I,
like get
I
on that.
think we actually grabbed him from Portland State. He was going to go there. I
Mm-hmm.
could not believe it because I watched his high school film too. I remember Coach Sawyer, which, by the way, hell of a recruiter when he was there. Sawyer showed me his tape, and I'm like, well, where's he going? I'm like, Oregon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, nowhere. He hasn't committed. He's got an offer from Portland State. And I'm like, what's wrong? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't figure it out. And he was just like, well, I'm going to get him.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he did, because he was a pleasure to watch on the red.
Oh yeah, man, dude. I remember his game against Richmond where he had like a pick, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, a sack, like every stat you could possibly get. He got that game. It was awesome. Man,
I think
that
I
dude,
messaged him after that game. I just like, I've never seen that before. Congrats, man.
yeah, he's
So
yeah,
cool.
he's one of those guys. I remember it was either his rookie year or his second year with the Rams. He scored 2 defensive touchdowns as a guy that didn't even he rotated in, but he wasn't a starter. Dude, like
Yep.
it was against Patrick Mahomes. Picked off Patrick Mahomes, man. Like
I
that's
got to watch
awesome.
that game on TV, and I don't watch much, to be honest. I don't know. I just time.
Yeah.
But for some reason I had that game on, and I was Rams. If the Rams were on, I'm usually trying to watch, but
Mm-hmm.
especially when they had 3 guys from Eastern on the team. But
That was
I
awesome.
remember watching that game and just being like, what a moment for you. Like, so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a coming out party for him.
Yeah.
He started getting some more stats, and got a lot of notability, and probably helped him as a free agent.
Mm-hmm. Shoot, he's up to 6 or 7 years in the NFL now, man. And he just had his best year yet. Man,
Yeah.
awesome. Good for him, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't remember what his contract situation's like, but love to see him have another career year next year, man.
Heck yeah.
Cole's defense is always great. Okay. Maybe we could hit on the Buck Buchanan Award. How did the Buck Buchanan Award work back then? Is it similar to now? Because I don't even know. Because I know JC Sherritt on it as well, but
Yeah, it was it was voted on by, I think it was the media, maybe the coaches too. I think mostly media. But my senior year, I think at that point when I won it, it's kind of like a runaway thing. I mean, 18 sacks is just I don't even know how that happened, to be honest.
mm-hmm.
There's obviously, I was really working to get those, but a lot of things have to go your way, and you
Yeah.
have to have a really good defensive line too. And I had those Jason Belford, Lance Witherspoon, absolute studs. Lance was all conference, all American guy, and Jason was a all conference guy. And so we, together as a unit, did really well. And it just kind of, like I said, some of those went my way a little bit more,
Mhm.
and it worked out well. But yeah, I think that's how it went. I'm not sure how they do it now. Um, I know JC probably should have won it back to back. He
Mhm.
set the school record the year before, and I think he was second in voting um, as a junior. And then, you know, they won the Natty, and I got to be there in 2010. I was down at the game, and so I got to go to the ceremony to
That's
watch
so
him get
cool.
it, which was a big time highlight for me
Man.
to see that happen. And but yeah, I think when I won it, it was kind of a surprise just because I don't even think I got a vote the year before.
Yeah.
It was, but JC, it was like I said, he could have probably won it back to back. He's the best defensive player to ever play at Eastern. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
really an argument with the stats he had in the ring, and you got to throw in with who he was too.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't see a guy his size hit like that. The longevity that he had, it's so amazing, very impressive.
Yeah. JC's legend for shoot. I'm a short guy. JC was another guy. You watch his tape and you're like, that's what you got to do. That's how you play. He's awesome to watch.
Oh man,
Another
I
guy.
use him all the time as an example.
Oh yeah.
Like to kids,
As a
I'm
coach,
too
yeah,
short. I'm 6 foot. 6 foot linebacker.
you're
You're
good.
tall.
Yeah.
Like,
Man.
what are you talking about?
Yeah, I got a little brother. He's like 5'11", 6 foot. He's like, I'm too short to play Division I football. I'm like, dude, hey, JC Sherritt, I think he was listed at 5'9" most of his career. Like, he's my dad played college football at 5'9". Like, man, you can do it.
Yep,
So, shoot, another great defensive linebacker for the EAGS, Ronnie Hamlin. That's another one that comes to mind. Man, I think he's the all-time leader in tackles. He just
I
like
think he
barely
is.
beat JC his senior year.
I think he is, and he was like, yeah, he was awesome to watch too. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really know Ronnie that well. I've met him a couple times, but um, it if you're having success at Eastern, we're all very similar in the type
Yeah.
of people that we are. It's a grind. Um, you go through a lot of adversity. We always do more with less.
Mm-hmm.
We've never had the best stuff. We're practicing in the snow. We're doing, we're walking to winter ball with a foot of snow. And
Mm-hmm.
there's other schools that do that, but they're not doing it with the resources we have. There's some California schools that don't have great facilities, but they got the sun every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that does something for you to be able to wake up 75 degrees and sunny. Whereas you know, we're walking a mile to the weight room in your snow boots to go get your ass kicked for an hour and then walk to class and try not to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a mentality when guys finish at Eastern, and that's just finishing in general. When you get that degree and you made it through, that means a lot. And that's something I look at with coaches too, people that are gonna that I'm gonna be coaching with, and it's like, did you finish? And did you get that degree? Because if you can do that, it's not an easy journey. And I know you're gonna be good when the shit hits the fan, when something happens unexpectedly, and you're like, you got those guys that freak out. What are we gonna do? And then there's the guys that find solutions right away. And the guys at Provision, I absolutely just love working with every day because we're always looking for solutions because we've been through that adversity and been through those battles. And that means a lot. And from Eastern, I think you go through a little bit more. That's all
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree. Shoot, Eastern has done more with less than probably any Division One program. I bet you just about. Eastern's done more with less than just about anyone. I think we'll probably start to wrap it up here. Do you have anything else that you'd like to hit on? Any upcoming things with Provision or anything like that that you want to kind of cut a little promo here for?
Um, if you're able to just tag me on this,
Yep.
I don't think I need to. Obviously we're a year-round program, so we're training kids in speed and strength, club sports like 7-on-7, 5-on-5. We're doing summer camps, um, and we're branching out into other sports, like I said, like lacrosse and softball and women's flag, not just football. We're getting into that new facility coming soon, and if you got kids that are looking at training and developing and elevating their game, not just on the field, but off the field too, then definitely check us out. Check out our website. Shoot me an email, and would love to get connected.
Yeah, highly recommend Provision Academy. Everyone that I've talked to that's been around the program and been around everything absolutely loves it. Absolutely recommends it. So I'll link the Provision Academy in the description on YouTube, and I'll tag. What's your like Twitter or Instagram handle?
Twitter is pro_vision_acad. That's Twitter. And you'll see our logo. And then Instagram is just Provision Academy altogether. Um, and then, yeah, the website is provision.academy.
Alrighty. You heard it here first, folks. Everyone, definitely grab a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Same with Provision Academy. Great stuff going on there. If you're someone that likes to follow Eastern recruiting, Provision Academy is a great place to go follow, go see. Hey, lots of future EAGS, lots of future Vandals, future whatever. A lot of great kids, good stuff to watch. Um, but yeah, I think that just about does it for us today on Power Hour. Greg, thank you again so much for coming on. It's been awesome. Serious pleasure having Eastern legend, one of the best defensive players, in the history of Eastern Washington. Again, two-time All-American, Big Sky Defensive Player of the Year, um, Buck Buchanan Award, career record in sacks, as well as sacks in a season, career record in TFLs in a season and TFLs in a year. Absolute freak. Um, 7-year CFL career. You know, awesome to have you on. Thanks a ton for coming on. Um, if you ever want to come on and cut a promo about Provision stuff, let me know. We'll have you on. So um, thanks again. And I think that's all we got. Go Eags, guys.
Go Eags. Thanks, Patty.